It's called the de-stress protocol. And I mentioned that in my book as well. That's the second half of it. It's diet, exercise, stress reduction, toxin removal, because most guys don't know that heavy metals can actually lead to inflammation, which can lead to testosterone issues. So it's diet, exercise, stress reduction, toxin removal. Then it's rest. So basically your sleep protocols. And then I think you actually mentioned earlier, non-sleep deep rest. And then there is your emotional balance, extremely important. A lot of guys don't like to talk about it, but inner child-based work or childhood trauma, really important to look at that. And then we've got scientifically backed supplements. So the zinc, the vitamin C, the tribulus, the maca, the things that we know work. And then we have the success mindset. So success, I'm big on mindset. And the reason is that honestly, we know how to help everybody heal. We really do. And that's not from an ego perspective, but it's basically saying that if you're dealing with high blood pressure or low testosterone or migraines or psoriasis or autoimmune, or like I was Addison's and all sorts of issues, I had type 2 diabetes, I had all sorts of issues, is that there's always an underlying root cause. And the nice thing is there's only like 12 reasons for each different disease of the body. So I'm not saying that we're perfect, but we're going to find it. There's only 12. It's just going to take a little bit of time. We'll find out what it is and rebalance it. But the success mindset is that the only people that we've seen really relapse and go back are those that quit, that give up on it. And that's unfortunate. And it happened to me many times. It's because I didn't get my answers right away. I relapsed multiple times when I was in my 20s. And I needed that mindset to get me back on track each time.
Yeah, no, Stephen, that's great, man. And I love that you're talking about this mindset. And it's such a big part of the work that you do. And I even love the language that you're using here. You said relapse. Like, I don't think that's something that people would ever think about in terms of their health or fitness. And obviously, I work in the addiction space. And I've said this for the last 5+ years now, is when it comes to an addiction, more specifically with the guys that we work with that are struggling with pornography, it's like this has been a part of their life for so many years, oftentimes decades. And what I've seen hold so many men back is the limiting belief that they can actually create a life without it. So in terms of like the success mindset, is it like if you've been unhealthy or you've been disease oriented for such a long time, is a part of the mindset actually envisioning who you can be, living fully healthy and optimal?
Yeah. And so think about it like this. So I had autoimmune diseases, I had type 2 diabetes, I had Addison's disease, and a host of other issues through essentially a prime of my life, right? 17 years old through 27. So my senior year of high school through college, through my early 20s, had debilitating inflammatory and certain diseases. And after a while, especially with many medical doctors telling me that it's either all in my head or that we're just going to have to manage this with pharmaceutical drugs, you start to internalize that and you become essentially a victim of this state that you're in. And so what many of us have to do, and again, I'm sick for 10 years. How would I be healthier when I'm an older adult than I would as a kid? Never. Like, that's not normal. So what you need to do is suspend disbelief, right? That's it. I always tell people, like, I wanted to believe. It's not that I didn't, but I didn't see any future possibility of me being healthy. I was never that healthy. So what I had to do initially is just not lie to myself. I had to say this because I'm a big believer in the law of attraction. I'm a big believer in visualization, but I had to be realistic because my subconscious wouldn't believe it. So I had to read stories about other people healing, even if they didn't have exactly what I had. And then I had to say, well, if it worked for them, then maybe it'll work for me. But I didn't say, oh, it's going to work, because again, I just couldn't get it to sink in yet. So I said, let me just start to act as if. Let me start to act as if the person who is here today were healthy. What would you do? And then another thing that was really beneficial for me is that every time I would start to feel myself relapse or in a bad place, I would say, this is only temporary. You're going to be able to overcome this. This is just one step closer to healing. It's one more way that didn't work. And that's how the mindset I took. I said, there can only be so many ways. I'm going to figure this out. And so what I always recommend for people in your community or my community is that if someone else was able to overcome what you have, you can too. If no one's ever been able to do it, that's a challenge. You can be the first, but it's more challenging. But if there's a blueprint, trust me, if you follow the blueprint and just tweak it just a little bit for you, not change the whole thing. People always like, well, I'm going to do it my way. No, do it the way that's been proven to work over and over and over, and make subtle changes for what might need to be advised for you. So I could give you a whole food list of 100 foods that are great for you, and then you are sensitive to 2 or 3 of them. Okay, don't throw out the whole plan. Just don't eat the 2 to 3 foods that you don't do well with. And so that's always the mindset that I took, is that Kaizen mindset is like, I just need to be 1% better. Like, let me just get 1%, 1%, 1%. And then what happens is you accumulate small wins. And so I would go 3 months without relapsing. And then I would go 4. And then I would go to 5. And I'm like, oh, this is going really well. And then I would go 6 months. And when I went 6 months, I would say, even if it happens again, it's okay. I am well. It's just one little setback. Everybody has setbacks. It's not like adults never get sick. I can get sick too. I'm okay. And so that's how I looked at it.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love reading the stories of other people, and if one person has done it, then I can do it as well. Like, and he even said, act as if you already that person. That's fake it till you make it, right? But I think a lot of people, they hear that, it's like, fake it till you make it. That means I got to pretend, I got to rent a Lamborghini if I want to be a millionaire. It's like, no, fake, you are the person. So begin to do the things that that person does. A healthy individual, begin to live the life as somebody, which means you're going to track your sleep, you're going to track your calories, you're going to train, begin to act as the person that is no longer addicted to a substance or to an outlet or to a vice. Stop doing those things. Have a state of gratitude. Have a regular meditative practice. I love that so well. I want to circle all the way back, and I apologize, I'm taking us back to the intermittent fasting conversation, but you said something right out of the jump in terms of cyclical intermittent fasting. And I think people, when they hear cyclical, that means it's something that we do on a cyclical basis, right? So are we not following the same fasting practice every day? And if so, what does a cyclical intermittent fasting look like?
How I look at it is this, is that our body is truly a diurnal machine and being. Like, our testosterone's highest in the morning, our cortisol's highest in the morning, our output essentially is highest the first half of the day. And however you want to look at that, hunter, gatherer, work, etc., that's how we want our bodies to be. Now, we live in a modern based lifestyle that provides light. We've heard about all the negatives of blue light. Well, it's always been negative. We roll with the tide for the media and whatever is kind of most popular. And typically we always over exaggerate in the short term and under give credence to in the long term. Like, it still matters. And so what I want to say is this, is that we need to start living as part of the world, nature, and not independent of it. So I always like to say to people this way. Let's say if you've ever been camping before, if not, that's okay. We can kind of just play along. If you were to grab your tent, grab your gear, go out into the woods, let's say you didn't need to hunt, but let's say you foraged or whatever you want to think about it. Within 2 weeks, trust me, you'd be going to bed a couple hours after dark and you'd be waking up around sunrise. And the reason is that sun is a very powerful alarm clock. And if you've been doing that with no sleep, say you go to bed at midnight usually, or 1 a.m., and you're waking up at 5 or 6 a.m. on 5-6 hours sleep, and you're now walking around in nature, hiking, you're foraging for food, hunting for food, whatever it is, you're going to be exhausted by 5-6 o'clock at night. You will reset that circadian rhythm. And most likely, unless you're a savage, which is okay, you're going to want some food to start your day with all that exercise and output that you're outputting. So when we start to think of it that way in nature, this would be normal. Now, you probably wouldn't have access to all sorts of meat and things like that first thing in the morning. You'd have simple foods, and that just kind of gets you going to then hunt for your bigger meal. And so what I like to let people know is fasting 12 hours is your intermittent fast. That's what we consider an intermittent fast. So 6 at night or 7 at night to 6, 7 in the morning, that's your minimum intermittent fast. Then after that, you can go to 13 hours, 14 hours, 15, 16. For most people, we never go past 16. And people who want to do 16, this is how we do it in our practice. Let's say it's stopping eating at 6 p.m. at night. That's typically the earliest people can stop. If you have kids or whatever, you might be done by 6. That's what we try to do in my family. And then you go to midnight, that's 6. And you just need to add on then 10 more, so to 10 a.m. So that would be your longest fast really overnight. You can do breakfast or your first meal a day around 10, then around 1 or 2 o'clock, your second, and then your third meal, let's say 6 o'clock or so at night, whatever you'd like to do. And that's a pretty simple formula. And the reason why we like 3 meals instead of just 1 or 2 is that you're then not overtaxing your digestive system. You're going to eat the same calories anyway, so you can just space them out. And you're fueling your body all day long. So the thing is, it's easy to get away with all this in your 20s. It's hard to get away with it in your 40s, 50s, and beyond, is not fueling your body and straining your nervous system every day. So we focus on exercise and recovery, fueling the body, not getting to exhaustion, and recovery. And so we'll do a normal intermittent fast, like my intermittent fast, 6 at night to 8 in the morning. Doesn't mean everybody else needs to do it. That's what works for my body. I wake up around 5:36. I've got a couple hours relaxed morning routine, get my daughters ready. They head to school. I'm eating my breakfast. I'm taking my walk, starting my day. And then, although one day a week, 3 times a month, so it's always on Monday, I have my flex meal, cheat meal, on, let's say, Saturday night. Sunday, normalized blood sugar, all that. On Monday, I'll go from Sunday night, dinner with my family, till Monday night, dinner with my family, or pre-workout smoothie or something like that at 4:30 p.m. And that's a 24-hour fast once a week. So now I'm getting deeper into autophagy. Not every day, once a week. And then when I go to do my workout, again, we can get as deep into the science as you want. I will recover faster and not have as much inflammation if I have a peri-workout smoothie with carbohydrates in it. So again, is that right for everybody that are looking to lose fat and all those things? Probably not. But for people that are simply looking to keep muscle on their body, enjoy their workout, not have as much inflammation, go about their work, all that works really well.